Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the October 19th meeting of the Daytona Beach City Commission. We're happy to have you with us tonight. At this time, our clerk will give us a roll call.
Commissioner Reed,
Here.
Commissioner Traeger,
Here.
Commissioner Strickland,
Here.
Commissioner May, Commissioner Cantu, Commissioner Henry, Mayor Derek L. Henry.
Here.
Okay. We'll now move on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the September 21st, 2022 City Commission meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. There are no questions or comments. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we will have our agenda approval. If there are any changes, our city manager will address them.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, would like to add item 8I, which is the Parks and Recreation Department, City of Daytona Beach, Mid-Florida Youth Football and Cheerleading Conference Facility Use Agreement. And I would like to say that this is a very good cheerleading conference. They were with me in Polk County, and we have recruited their program for their Super Bowls to be here at Municipal Stadium, bringing about 5,000 to 8,000 people to our community. So it was a good program. I actually won a couple of Super Bowl rings with them. I just don't read. I can actually coach something as well. Remove item 8J, City Manager's Office Redevelopment Neighborhood Services Framework Midtown Acquisition. Add item 8K, Bike Week Sponsorship Funds. Add item 8L, City Manager's Office, the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund Distribution. And add item 10C, Federal Funding Assistance Request for Flooding. That concludes that.
Move to approve.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Mayor, if I may, there is an error in the backup. The Commissioner May donation for Bike Week states that there'll be a grant to Faith. That was pulled off from the resolution.
Oh,
So that's not part of the approval. Faith?
oh, okay. Okay, all right. Do we have any other questions? We have a motion and a second.
Motion to approve with
Said
change.
Okay. All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. We're going to move on to item number 6, which is our presentations. Item 6A is a presentation by Sheriff Michael Chitwood, Neighborhoods Damaged by Hurricane Ian and the Governor and Senator's Tours.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
Good evening, sir.
Commissioners, Mr. City Manager. I will not say that Commissioner Reed was in the back of a police car during the storm or after the storm. I won't get that out there, but
It was a police truck.
police truck, yes, it was. That is correct. That is correct.
It's an SUV.
Is there a video they're playing for this? Do you want to fire that off? The purpose, real quick, is why I was here, why I came here, is that this was historic. This was unprecedented, and this affected the entire county. So none of us have different issues. Everybody has the same issue. We handled 11,000 calls, 911 calls in a 24-hour period. Each of those calls was answered within 15 seconds. We handled 1,000 calls countywide for people to be evacuated, as you see, countywide. And I think one of the greatest things in mind that I saw was in Thursday afternoon when those 5 high water rescue vehicles filled with National Guard folk got in here. We knew we had the help that we were going to need to evacuate our folks. Unfortunately, we suffered 5 casualties in it, 3 direct drowning, I think, and 2 for medical. And I don't know, you guys didn't have the ability to get up in Air 1, but man, to fly over this county in Air 1 and see the devastation was just unbelievable. And I can't imagine what's occurring in the southwest part of the state.
Transported the person in question. Close the call.
We have a 5 or 6 house area with
Southern Sarasota, all the way into Central Florida, into Volusia, and even up the coast.
When you see mattresses and couches, you know that the damage is almost total.
Yeah, right? Your life on the curb.
Very quickly, I think from where I got to look and watch, you should be so proud of your public works folks, your utilities folks, your police, your fire, your EMS. How do you plan for something like this? You try your best and you wing it. But we did our best at getting the resources we could get to share with all of the cities, and vice versa, you could share with us. I do want to take this 1 second. The real reason I'm here is what impressed me the most was when Senator Rubio, let me back up. We got to sit down with the governor. It was myself, the county manager, and emergency management director, Jim Judge. And the county manager did a great job laying out the overview of what happened in Volusia County. The next day, the senator came, and he sat with us for probably close to an hour. And the commissioner, the city manager, and Hardy laid out an argument for and the historical problems that you have here in Daytona Beach. And if you listened to the way they made their presentation to the senator, it got the senator thinking. He asked really, really good questions. We got out on a ride along. We took him through Fairway Estates. We took him through Cottle Circle. We took him through PPU. And eventually he ended up at that great event in Campbell. And his staff commented when it was all said and done of the preparation of the people from the city of Daytona Beach, how much they knew about their area and the problem. Obviously, he asked us if you had a pot of money, how would you do this? But I think that you have to know that you were well represented on the federal level. And we've had visits from the Attorney General has been in, our state senator and our state reps have all been on top of this. What comes out of it, I don't know. But again, it was unprecedented. And I think, you're going to have people complain. I have it, trucks, boats down St. John's are flooding houses. Trucks are going into areas and knocking water into people's homes. People are just ignorant. I don't know what possessed them to do that. But that was the whole purpose, is to let you know that your staff really, really shined during a natural disaster. And when you think of that, 11,000 calls, 911 calls for help. That's unprecedented. It's 5 times what we handle on a normal day. And 1,000 rescues throughout the county. This thing really hit us. And I don't know what, like I said, God forbid if it was a direct impact. So I just wanted to bring to your attention that, and getting Commissioner Reed in the back of a police SUV was probably the highlight of the day. The city manager even said, I'm not going to get the commissioner in the back of the car. That's where she needs to be. So, and I commend you on the high water vehicle. We just purchased 2 more. That'll bring us, counting Edgewater, I think we'll be up to about 8. God forbid if this ever happens again, but still, they're invaluable when you need them. Mm-hmm. So, that's it.
Thank you for your continued partnership. And we know you have the whole county now, but you continue to do a great job, and you continue to do a great job helping us.
Well, it's a pleasure working, so it's good to be home. Take care. Good night.
Good job, Commissioner Reed.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to item 6B, which is a proclamation. And this was a proclamation, I think, that was requested by Commissioner.
And I will do this proclamation. Before we move on, I do want to add to what was stated, because I think it's important that we do understand that there's almost every person that represents us has called to check on us. Senator Rubio and his office have called me personally multiple times. Senator Scott and his office, the same. Multiple times, multiple conversations. And we've been able always, the number one thing that I say is Nova Canal. And how do we get the support that we need to address that? Vice President Kamala Harris, 3 times has called. And I have pointed out Nova Canal, because we need everyone who's in any position everywhere to do whatever we can to bring that to the level of attention that it needs, so that we get the money to do what needs to be done. But we don't want you to ever think that we're not representing and we're not trying to educate and trying to do what we can. Even had Bob the research to see if we could find a way to levy ourselves as a community the revenue or through taxation to be able to pay for that. Unfortunately, as we suspected, or at least as I suspected, that's not legal. We're not allowed to add an additional tax for that purpose outside of our typical ad valorem tax. That's the only tax we're allowed to levy. But I do want you to know that I think that this commission and all of us there's no one who comes before us. And we had a very productive meeting downstairs last week with the Secretary of Transportation from the state, as well as our district mayors and city managers from other municipalities to discuss the regional approach to the Nova Canal, because the belief is, and we've said this and we've done it before, it's better if we all work together as municipalities and try to get the state to realize that this affects us from Ormond down to Port Orange. While we tend to bear the brunt of it, they've all bared a significant amount of damage off the Nova Canal. So we believe that, and we're going to have additional meetings to figure out a way that we can try and, through collaboration, apply for grants that we hope will help us to address this issue. So I just wanted to add that. In recognition of Florida City Government Week, whereas city government is the government closest to the most citizens and the one with the most direct daily impact upon its residents. And whereas municipal government provides services and programs that enhance the quality of life for residents, making their city their home. And whereas city government is administered for and by its citizens and is dependent upon public commitment to an understanding of its many responsibilities. And whereas city government officials and employees share the responsibility to pass along the understanding of public services and their benefits. And whereas Florida City Government Week offers an important opportunity for elected officials and city staff to spread the word to all citizens of Florida that they can shape and influence this branch of government. And whereas the Florida League of Cities and its member cities have joined together to teach citizens about municipal government through a variety of activities. Now, therefore, I, Derek L. Henry, Mayor of the City of Daytona Beach, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim October 17th through October 23rd, 2022 as Florida City Government Week in the city of Daytona Beach. And I encourage all citizens, Florida city officials, and employees to support this celebration by participating in events and activities that recognize and celebrate this week. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 7, which is citizens. During this time, citizens have the opportunity to address the City Commission on any item on the consent agenda. My first speaker is Jenny Nazak, and on deck is Vladan Zolotowski. I'm sorry if I butchered that.
Jenny Nazak, 501 Harvey. I actually can't remember when I spoke on consent agenda before. Do I speak one item at a time, fit them all into 3 minutes, or what?
All in the 3 minutes.
Oh, my. All right. Okay. So 8A, 711 Flora, disposition of city property. Good job. I hope you guys dispose of some more properties. There's one right next door to me that has been such a thorn in my side. I would love to have somebody living there, a family, a house. Instead, it's this excessively mowed lot that is just beaten up. I've begged the city to let me manage it as a managed meadow. My neighbor and I have begged the city to try to let us buy it. But really, I would just love a family to be living there. Maybe as part of Commissioner Reed's suggestion last time of some housing, that would be pretty awesome. Really cool empty lot next to me. 8C, landscaping and beautification grant. Let's get some flood mitigation and heat mitigation out of this. Let's have, if possible, if any plants are involved, native plants, tall grasses, native trees. 8D, I know I sound like such a broken record. I get so sick of myself sometimes. I'm always talking about plants and landscaping. If it didn't matter, if it wasn't super important in like life and death, I wouldn't keep talking about it. But trees, they're still water pumps. They're stormwater mitigation pumps, they're heat mitigation, but not just trees. Trees don't grow overnight. We're not going to get a bunch of trees overnight, but taller grasses, native plants, other types of plants. Set the landscaping standards so it's not this really harsh, excessively cut, excessively manicured. There's not enough surface area to mitigate heat and mitigate flooding. So these contractors in 8D, it doesn't matter who we award it to, they're all kind of the same in a way. They're paid to cut grass. They're not really paid to care about plants. It's not their fault, but that's what we pay them to do. Let's pay them to care. How can we manage to pay them to care? Right now, I think, for example, the grass mowing contracts actually encourage excess mowing because if they don't mow, they don't get paid. Is there a way to pay them by the month or something so they can use their discretion? Beachside is different. Even though we're right next to the Atlantic Ocean, we're like more high and dry in parts there. Like it's almost a desert in parts. And it's really horrible to wake up in the morning and hear like chainsaw level of noise with, oh yeah, good, they're edging a bunch of sand again. You know, it's not their fault. We all, like, I keep trying to get everybody interested in this stuff, but really I'd rather just be eating at a restaurant or like going out and partying. I'm not here speaking to you just to hog your attention. This is really important. Love you all. Thank you very much. And it's not just, I don't know that much, but the people I listen to know a ton. So like the webinars and everything. So my brain isn't that big, but I store my thoughts in other people's brains. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker, and is it Zola Tavesky? Zolotare, 240 South Palmetto Avenue. Okay. Is there Al Lutens, Lootens, 240 South Palmetto Avenue? Okay, then our final consent speaker is John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granbury Avenue. Before I speak, I'd like to back up what Jenny is speaking about with regard to the trees. It popped up yesterday at the county council. A gentleman came before the county council, flooding in his area, and he informed the county that if there was a pine tree remaining when they bulldozed to create Victoria Park, they would suck up 50,000 gallons of water. The old oak trees that are being bulldozed down throughout the county, 40,000 gallons of water. So not only do they help with the heat in urban areas, which is tremendously important to us, that Jenny was talking about, they create oxygen, which we all of us need. They clean the carbon dioxide out of the air that our cars pollute. So she's absolutely correct when we talk about the need for large trees and many of them. Now on 8C, $100,000 landscaping. We've been pushing for landscaping on Beachside for 17 years. This money will go a long way if we can get any of it. It doesn't say on the backup who's getting it, where it's going, whether it's going to be divided equally into the 3 CRAs. So I would ask the city manager to allow us to know where this funding is going to be and if any of it will go on Beachside. Thank you.
Is Mr. Thomas here this evening?
Yes, but
Okay. Well, from my understanding, it's actually coming from my CARES funding. So I'm using the last $100,000 of my CARES funding toward community landscaping. Each resident who is eligible will be able to apply for a $1,000 grant, if I'm correct. And that is divided between the multiple CRAs, which I represent in Zone 3. And all that's required is an application form. There are no matching funds required. The vendors already taken care of. You apply. It's processed, and then the vendor comes out, does an estimate of work, and then goes ahead and does the work, and that would account for the final $100,000 of my funding. I would like to say the reason I chose this project is post-hurricane, I heard of stories where people tried to get their trees cut. One price to cut the tree, an additional price to remove the debris, which is why some debris was left, causing more issues. So I'm hoping that residents will jump on this, and hopefully it will help to clean up the area throughout the 5 CRAs more efficiently. Thank you.
And that was my final speaker for the consent agenda.
Questions or comments?
I'd just like to ask Commissioner May, are these funds available now? Because people can use some trees cut now.
Is to have them released as quickly as possible once the application goes through. Mr. Thomas has tried to get this on the agenda last week, couldn't get it done. The application should be ready to go, and as of tomorrow morning, I believe, people can apply.
Yes, and
Now-
we'll put the information out.
My question is this: can people apply not online? Can they get a hard copy? Because some people don't have access right now to internet. I'll tell you something else. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm realizing that there are many individuals living in homes who are falling through the cracks of FEMA. They make too much. Something is going on where they're not eligible for some support, and this money is, I'm using it as it was intended to be used. So thank you very much.
Okay, do we have any additional questions or comments? All right, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion, we have a second. All right, there are no further questions. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. We'll now move on to item number 9, which is our public hearings. Item number 9A is the Development Administrative Services Planning Division, Chick-fil-A, number 866, Plan Development General Rezoning. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 1.2 plus or minus acres of property located at 100 North Williamson Boulevard in the southwest corner of the West International Speedway Boulevard and the North Williamson Boulevard intersection from T5 Tourist Highway Interchange to PDG, Plan Development General, approving the Chick-fil-A Plan District Agreement to allow redevelopment and use of the property as an expanded Chick-fil-A restaurant, subject to certain conditions, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner May. Do we have any speakers?
I have Kendra Lewis here on behalf of the applicant for any questions.
No questions? All right. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
I personally would have preferred to see them build another Chick-fil-A, but, you know, that's just me. Because the line, even though it's going to be 2 lines, it's 2 lines now. I think they'd have another destination. That's just,
Yeah, like the corner of MLK and ISB, right? Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Oh, open Sunday,
That
yes.
she thought within the document, it stated that this will be the first one that opens on Sunday.
no. He's made that perfectly clear.
Okay. All right.
Going to move on to item 9B, which is the Development Administrative Services Planning Division, Fencing Use Specific Standards. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance amending the Land Development Code, LDC, Article 6, Section 6.8, Fences, Walls, and Hedges, and Section 6.14, Redevelopment Area Standards, to modify and clarify development standards for repair, replacement, and maintenance of fences and walls, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
And I have no speakers for this item, Mr. Mayor.
All right, no questions. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to item 9C, it's the Development Administrative Services Planning Division, RDM1, Single Family and Duplex Uses. This is a Land Development Code text amendment. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance amending the Land Development Code, LDC, Article 4, Section 4.7, redevelopment-based zoning districts, and Article 5, Section 5.2, principal uses, to add duplex and single-family detached dwellings as permitted principal uses for properties within the redevelopment Midtown Center, RDM1 zoning district, and provide applicable intensity and dimensional standards, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Take a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner Henry.
And I have,
Oh, Traeger made the first motion?
No.
I made the motion, Trigger made the
I
second.
second.
Oh, was she? Oh, she beat you? Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I
that
have no
sibling ear.
speakers on this item, Mr. Mayor.
No speakers?
No.
All right, do we have any questions or comments?
Just for the record, can we just explain in layman's terms that, Bob, in regards to why we're doing this?
Yeah, I think I'd prefer Dennis do that.
Okay, Dennis.
Planning.
Thank you, Dennis Merzick, Planning Director. In layman's terms, we have this is a particular zoning district that previously had allowed single-family and duplex uses. We do have some single-family and duplex uses currently in this district. When the code was changed about 6 years ago, when we had our new land development code, the new zoning district does not include those uses.
omitted it.
So we're going to put those uses back into the zoning district to make those uses legal, conforming uses again.
Thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome.
Zarek, I have a question for you. So what happens to the people who bought property as a duplex? We changed the zoning. They changed it to single family. What happens to them now? Do they go back? They're now back again to being able to use duplex?
If a duplex use would now be permitted, so if they wanted to go back to a duplex use, they could do that. I'm not aware of any cases where somebody actually went from a duplex to a single, but they have the opportunity now to go back to a duplex use if that's what they choose to do.
So I actually have two people in my zone who have commented on the fact that they purchased property, the zoning changed, and then they were not allowed to build or move forward with the duplex. But that's okay. I will actually bring them to you.
And the other thing is, if they moved there and the duplex use was a permitted use when they moved there, they'd be allowed to continue that duplex use as long as they were occupying that site. It would only be if they were to leave the site, to abandon the site for more than 3 months, that use would be required to go away. So.
I'll tell them to alert you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we had a motion, we had a second. Do we have any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Now move on to item 9D. It's a Development and Administrative Services Planning Division, Sungate Voluntary Annexation. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance annexing into the city of Daytona Beach 7 parcels containing 9.2 plus or minus acres of land, generally located north of West International Speedway Boulevard and near the Old DeLand Road and Fire Tower Road intersections, redefining the territorial boundaries of the city of Daytona Beach to include the property, redesignating the boundaries of Zone 4 of the city of Daytona Beach to include the property, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So move. Second.
All right, we got a motion from Commissioner Cantu, and we'll take a second from Commissioner Traeger.
I have Mr. Sean Richmond who would like to speak on this item. And then I do have Mr. Rob Merrill here on behalf of the applicant for any questions after he's.
Good evening, Mayor Henry, Commissioners, Mr. Manager. My name is Sean Richmond, and I'm with the Daytona Regional Chamber of Commerce. I'm here in my official capacity tonight to support the Sungate project. This project will create jobs, much-needed workforce housing, and deliver physical impact to the city that we much need. For these reasons, the Daytona Regional Chamber of Commerce supports this project. We ask for you to do the same. Thank you.
That was my only speaker. I do have Mr. Rob Moore here on behalf of the applicant for any questions.
All right, do we have any questions? Okay, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Going to move on to item 9E. It's the Development and Administrative Services Planning Division, Logistics Park, Large-Scale Comprehensive Plan Amendment. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance adopting large-scale comprehensive plan amendments in accordance with Chapter 163, Part 2, Florida statute, in relation to 859 plus or minus acres of land generally located northwest of the intersection of West International Speedway Boulevard and Fire Tower Road, amending the future land use map designation of portions of the subject property from City General Industrial, 20.4 plus or minus acres, County Industrial, 0.5 plus or minus acres, County Mixed Use, 2.1 plus or minus acres, County Low Impact Urban, 5.9 plus or minus acres, and County Urban Low Intensity, 0.7 plus or minus acres, to City Mixed Use, amending the future land use element Neighborhood B development policy to limit development intensity for the subject property, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner May.
And I do have Mr. Rob Merrill here on behalf of the applicant for any questions.
No questions? Okay. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. We're going to move on to item 9F. It's the Development and Administrative Services Planning Division, Sungate Logistics Park, Plan Development General, PD rezoning. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 9.4 plus or minus acres of property generally located north and northeast of the intersection of West International Speedway Boulevard and Fire Tower Road from Volusia County, VC, R25A, Urban Single Family Residential Agriculture, BCR35A, Urban Single Family Residential Agriculture, BPUDC 5A, Business Plan Unit Development and Agriculture, BCFRA, Forestry Resource, and BCB-1C5A, General Office, Hospital, Medical, and Agriculture, to City Plan Development General, approving the Sungate Logistics Park Plan District Agreement, authorizing the development of approximately 859 plus acres of property generally located northeast of the intersection of West International Speedway Boulevard and east of Indian Lake Road with agricultural, commercial, institutional, residential, and industrial uses subject to certain condition, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Second.
Have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner Cantu.
And I do have Mr. Rob Merrill here on behalf of the applicant for any questions, and no other speakers.
Okay, no speakers, no questions. All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, moving on to item 9G, it's the Development and Administrative Services Planning Division, Sungate Community Development District, CDD. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance granting the petition of TLO 12 Sungate LLC for establishment of a community development district, creating and establishing the Sungate Community Development District, providing for name, powers, and duties, providing description and boundaries, providing initial members of the Board of Supervisors, providing severability, and an effective date.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner May and a second from Commissioner Cantu.
And I do have Ms. Jessica Gow here on behalf of the applicant for any questions.
No questions? Okay, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to item 9H, it's the Development Administrative Services Waypoint Apartments Proportionate Fair Share Agreement. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving the Waypoint Apartments Proportionate Fair Share Agreement between the City, WP Daytona MFLFL owner, LLC, and the County of Volusia, providing for the developer to pay a proportionate fair share contribution to Volusia County in relation to the development of 300 multifamily residential units generally located on the north side of LPGA Boulevard, east of Clyde Morris Boulevard, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement and providing an effective date.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Traeger and a second from Commissioner Cantu.
And
May. Sorry.
And do have Jessica Gow here on behalf of the applicant for any questions.
All right, no questions? All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. We're going to move on to item 9I. It's the Development and Administrative Services Planning Division, 110 East Orange Avenue, Historic Overlay Zoning District. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code, applying the HO Historic Overlay classification to the site of the City Island Recreation Center Annex, located at 110 East Orange Avenue, which is owned by the City of Daytona Beach, adopting design guidelines for the site, directing that the local register of historic places be updated to include the site, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
A motion from Commissioner Traeger and a second from Commissioner May.
And I do have speakers on this item, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
I think Mr. Strickland.
I have a request, since the next item, 10A, is closely related to this, could we combine the comments from both of those? Would that be possible?
What do you mean? She wants to have, she has a presentation.
Well,
She can just have a presentation.
I do
Okay.
have speakers signed up for
Yeah.
today as well.
will there be speakers on 10A?
Yes, yes.
Can,
there will.
can you just have all the speakers at one time for both items, is that what I'm asking? It's your meeting.
I know. I don't know what the purpose of that is, but what's the purpose? Just so you can hear them all at once?
Yes.
And not skip? I don't care. Go ahead.
Okay.
That's fine.
So for the record, I'm going to take speakers for 9A and 10A. I'm sorry, 9I and 10A at this time. So my first speaker is Ann Ruby, and on deck is Sandy Murphy.
Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue, speaking on 9I, the significance of declaring this a historic structure. For a long time, we didn't really know the origins of this building, and when we found out, it became apparent that it was unique in the history of the city, in the history of the state, and it needs to be declared historic. So, particularly when you look at it in conjunction with what we heard on Monday at the workshop for wanting to put major investment into Jackie Robinson Field. And then if they move out of the other library building, you could have 3 historic buildings on the riverside there, along with Jackie Robinson. Particularly if you did the Jackie Robinson, it's a little off the topic, if you did the facade with an older look, you could have a potential movie set. So I think preserving our older buildings, our history really, really matters, and this is a historically significant building. Thank you.
Who's the young lady that's so excited back there? Are you one of the speakers? Okay, I look forward to hearing from you.
No pressure.
No, I do. She's excited.
No, okay.
They would have been able to talk.
Okay.
Good evening, Sandy Murphy, 136 Park Avenue. I wanted to talk about 9I, the historic overlay. I want you to just recall that you had a staff member who was an expert, had a master's degree in World War II history, who was the individual on staff who evaluated the Orange Avenue Rec in terms of its historic status. And he made the determination that the rec building met all 9 of the 9 criteria to declare a building historic. And I think that pretty much says it all. That's what you're being asked for in 9I, to declare it historic, and I think there really should be no question in your mind that the building qualifies. Thank you.
Who's that? Who's that staff member?
Okay. Our next speaker is Stephen Pyle, and on deck is Amy Pyle.
Oh, he left here.
Yeah, Stephen Pyle, 138 South Noble Street. So Ann Ruby and Sandy Murphy kind of like put it all together probably better than I can, but I just think it's a great building with so much history in it, and like the women's military, the origins of it and how long it's been here, and the conjunction with all the other buildings in the area is just fantastic. So I think it totally qualifies for this, and I would appreciate your approval in both 9I and 10A. So thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Amy Powell, and on deck is Tony Servance.
Hi, Amy Pyle, 136 South Grandview. I love preserving old buildings. I've pretty much dedicated half of my life to doing that, and I'm very, very excited to see what's happening with this building. I was going to reiterate what Sandy said. It passed all 9. It'd be hard to say it's not historic at this time, so on 9I, I'm expressing my support. And then for 10A, I just want to say thank you to the committee that did they spent amazing amount of creative hours really brainstorming this so that they could present you guys with a complete package. And I know that's just a start. It's like a seed, but I'm really excited to see what'll happen. And, 5-10 years from now, looking back and seeing what a great accomplishment this will be to save this property. So thank you for voting in favor of both of these items.
Our next speaker is Tony Servance, and on deck is Ted Hordecki.
Good evening, Commission. Tony Servance, 914 Avery Street. I hope that you all will support this initiative. It's been a long journey. I remember when it started with the Save Our Neighborhood group, and I was kind of taken back because it reminds me of the story of the Wizard of Oz. Dorothy was the main character in the Wizard of Oz, and she was very persistent in making it to the Emerald City. And I'm hoping that you all will look at this as an opportunity to save the wreck. We learned some things as we traveled along this journey, and I'm hoping that you all will support the initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Good analogy.
Our next speaker is Ted Hordecki, and on deck is Norm Anderson.
I am Ted Hordecki, 113 Braddock Avenue. And like Amy said, I'd like to thank all the people that were involved through this whole process. I think they impressed every board, every commissioner, and that kind of energy, I hope if this goes forward, I hope we take that energy and use it to develop the rec center. I believe if we have community input, I think they could save the city money on what they do, who's doing the work. I mean, it'd all be licensed contractors, but I think we could actually save the city some money if we go about this the right way. We, like a committee, like presented the ideas. How do we save money? Do we sell plaques? Do we put them on the, the kiosks or on the video? These are the people who help do this. And, they could donate their time. There might be companies willing to do the work for nothing. I know the city doesn't hear that too often, but you never know. A small business, redo the floors, refurbish the floors. They could use it for advertising. I mean, just with the community involvement, the city's going to be a winner on this one. And I believe they proved their point, all the people that came together for this project. And thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker, I believe it's Norm Anderson, and on deck is Suzanne Odina.
Norm Anderson, 100 Silver Beach Avenue. I'm here on behalf of a very dear friend of mine, Jenny DeAngelis. Jenny is a former WAC who resided in Norman Beach since 1981 and is a past and current recipient of their Hometown Hero annual celebration during Veterans Day on an annual basis. In 1943, when the Orange Avenue Recreation Center was being constructed in Daytona Beach, Jenny volunteered to join the WACs in Minneapolis, Minnesota. She went through basic training at 2 different military locations in the U.S. to support her choice to serve overseas as an enlisted woman. She was eventually deployed to the European front, serving as a manpower clerk under General Omar Bradley's 12th Army, and ultimately earned the rank of Staff Sergeant. You can imagine what her assigned task consisted of during wartime with the heroes who gave their lives, those that were wounded and couldn't fight anymore, and those that continued to fight. When I told her that the city was again thinking of demolishing the center because it had fallen into disrepair due to lack of usage and maintenance, she was upset and heartbroken. Jenny was encouraged when I told her that due to some concerned citizens' involvement, the City Commission agreed to reconsider this matter by establishing a citizens committee with 3 tasks to accomplish: determine the feasibility of designating the center as a historical structure, recommend future uses, and identify potential funding sources. I've been keeping Jenny apprised of this fantastic job this committee has done. One thing that still bothers Jenny and mentions to me often regarding her post-WAC life is that most Americans are not aware that such a military force as the WACs existed, nor what they had accomplished. I have often wondered how many times Jenny has heard the words, "Thank you for your service," after friends or people she meets are made aware she was a WAC who served in World War II. After realizing this, I never asked Jenny if anyone has said this thank you gesture to her, because I was fearful that a response might embarrass her. So tonight, I want to tell Jenny, and all who is watching this, by the way, at 100 years old, I want to tell Jenny and all the women of service, thank you for your service. There could not be a more relevant time to publicly recognize this gesture to Jenny, her fellow WACs, and all women of service by having the Daytona Beach City Commissioners follow their staff recommendation and vote tonight to approve the resolution to save the Orange Avenue Recreation Center. With a favorable vote from you commissioners tonight, we will now have a restored and renovated center to remind all of this event, to honor all women of their unselfish service to our country. In turn, this center will now be able to provide positive educational, recreational, hosting meetings and functions, food service, and entertainment opportunities to be made available and offered to our citizens and visitors, thanks to you and the future leaders of Daytona Beach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
On the count of 3, I would like for everyone to join me and say, thank you, Jenny. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Jenny.
Our next speaker is Suzanne Odina, and on deck is Vernon Weatherholtz.
Suzanne Odina, 716 North Wild Olive, Daytona Beach. My shirt says it all. Who cares? We do. My friend Barbie was a bomber pilot in World War II. When her service was no longer needed, she had to find her own way home, as did many of her friends that were also pilots. She's since passed away. There are no plaques, no anything in Daytona Beach honoring women in the military. I very much want you to approve this as a historic site. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Our next speaker is Vernon Weatherholtz, and on deck is Kimberly Hoffpair.
My name is Vern Weatherholtz. I live at 3 Granville Circle, Daytona Beach. This has been a long journey for some of us. I know the city has looked forward to it a number of times and doing different things. One thing that I've learned about this, the historic value of Daytona Beach. I read a lot of the early literature on the different areas, Freemanville for one. Mm-hmm. And thanks to the city, we got a lot of really good information about the center. It's not a pretty building by any means, but it's a building of the time. And I think it has so much importance to the area. It's like it was said about Jackie Robinson Stadium. The other building there, it has so much potential. And I've read the article or the estimates from a year or so ago. I think they were a little high and a little exaggerated, and I think they were probed to make sure that they gave high estimates on the repair. But it's like Ted said, I don't know about contractors doing it for free since I am a contractor, but I think there is a lot of opportunity to do things within the community. I kind of use the example of the Veterans Museum. The veterans, myself included, to help put that together, anything that we could to eliminate the city. And I know the city spent a lot of money and a lot of time in that building, but I think it's worthwhile. In conjunction with this building, you know, it's going to make Daytona a better place, and I hope you agree to it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Our next speaker is Kimberly Hoffpair, and on deck is Jessica Gao.
Hello, I am Kimberly Hoffpower, 508 Rybalt Avenue, Daytona Beach. Just thought I'd get up here and say, you've heard all the pros and cons. Can you just please say yes? But then we had that moment where I feel like we were both excited about that vision of Ann's of it being a movie set. And I just couldn't withhold my joy.
It was really a good idea.
I love the history of Daytona Beach. I hate to see it go. Sometimes I know the buildings do have to go. It doesn't always make sense. But this one, to me, it made sense. It was rare. It was unique. It had everything possible to support it. And it also went back to when I volunteer at the Halifax Historical Society Museum on Beach Street as a researcher. And everything goes back to Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, and that gets me excited. Your early pioneers, a lot of it, she touched it all. So while those don't seem completely relevant, we know that they are from our research. And I just get excited about finding out all these gems that we do have in Daytona Beach, and I hope we can save as many as possible in every part of our neighborhoods. Not just Beach Street, not just Orange Avenue, the entire. And I hope we look at it with fresh eyes so that we know and don't lose our valuable buildings of our history and heritage. And that's what I'm hoping for. So I'm hoping you say yes, and this is the beginning of really looking at all of our other buildings that are out there, and they are. Thank you.
Thank you for your excitement and your volunteerism. I like
Our next
excitement.
speaker is Jessica Gao, and on deck is Pierre Lewis.
Good evening, Jessica Gao, 149 South Road Avenue. Speaking as someone who probably just spends a little too much time in this room. Miss Ann Ruby asked me to comment on this. I've been watching it from, these orange chairs as it's gone through the process of workshops and planning board. And what I've seen is that not only during wartime, but after that, this site has shaped our culture and history that I wasn't here for. And so I've loved hearing the stories. And I think we've seen residents come out who are just so passionate about this. Normally we see residents passionate, not in a great way. So the rallying of positive support for this has been amazing. And so I just want to say I'm excited to keep hearing the stories about what it was, but I'm really excited to see what it can be in the future.
Well, thank you.
Our next speaker is Pierre Lewis, and on deck is Jenny Nazak.
Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and to the city commissioners. It's been a couple of minutes just to lend my support to this particular item that you have that's here, 9A and 10. The first thing I'd like to comment is to thank all of you for the team that you selected. I've been on a number of teams. My history of being 20 years in the Marine Corps, I've led a lot. And when I watch this team operate, I like to see that they work. There's a round of applause because you as the commission and the mayor, you picked the right people. And the right people put this project together. So I definitely wanted to thank them for that. The second thing I wanted to mention is that It's like it took a full circle because I was on the Veterans Memorial Bridge Committee. Now all of a sudden it's a couple for 2 years now I'm back to this one that landed here. So it's good to see that as a commission officer retired, that the city, the citizens are putting some support behind that. I mentioned to some of the fellow female officers that were at our chapter to mention them about this project. And if you could just see the look on their face when I said that something was being done, not only for women, not only for the military, but when I mentioned the project, it was for women of service. A lot of times you get in a room full of officers and a bunch of leaders, nobody shuts their mouth. Everybody's talking. But when I mentioned that, to be able to say that, you know what, it's something that's going to be dedicated to the women. As the lady said earlier, there's no projects around that's like that. The table, there was a hush in the room. And for that one moment, everybody peeked up to listen to that. So I know at some particular time, you're going to get a lot of support and people are going to visit it. So I thank you. And once again, the most important thing is I thank you for the team of people that you selected, because it was good to see people working together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jenny Nazak, and on deck is Gary Kressler.
Jenny Nazak, 501 Harvey, joining my fellow citizens in support of the rec center. The historic overlay is essential. If you don't have the historic overlay, the plans become moot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gary Kressler, and on deck is Doyle Lewis.
Good evening. My name is Gary Chrysler. I represent Train Technologies. Our family first moved to Volusia County in the 70s. I live in Central Florida in Seminole County now, but my heart's still here in the county. My dad was famous. He was a World War II bomber pilot and flew 37 missions over Germany, was shot down and fought his way out of a farm field against some Germans and survived and came back to get married and raise 5 children. But he was also famous for wearing his World War II bomber officer's uniform around town as much as he could up to his 95th birthday. So one of the great things I remember about him is his dedication to protecting freedom, protecting the United States, and all the heroes that were part of the World War II era that the young people are not familiar with. And so our company, Train, has an office here in Daytona on Clyde Morris. You see me here a lot. We do, we're involved in with a lot of public clients here in the county. But personally, what I'd like to do is offer, and I offered this a couple months ago, as a contrast to the history of the building and what it represents, being probably, 80 years old now, is to let us offer support in including the latest in sustainable technology, whether it's wind generation, solar, and some of the other new components, so that it could be a showcase for technology and sustainability and not just the history. And that will excite young people when they come in and they're able to have touch screens or things to be able to, it would just round out their education. So I put that back on the table again. I'm confident you all will do the right thing in supporting this. I know it was controversial for a while and it's probably needing more repair than it probably needed, but this is a great project, and you have our support and my personal support. So I would say yes, please move that forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next speaker is Doyle Lewis.
Good evening. Doyle Lewis, Daytona Beach, United States. All I can say is this is going to be famously awesome. The military made their structures as simple as possible and very strong for one reason. So it would actually withstand anything, especially the people that never seen it. That building caught my eye just by the simple fact of the location. On the river, right there. I wasn't for sure if there was pilots there or not. Where I grew up on the 3rd highest point in the county in a little small house. The Air Force Base used to fly their airplanes directly over the top of my house because they would practice going down through the valleys and coming out through where the valley was until it came to my house. We used to wave at him all the time. So I'm just going to say it again. Famously awesome. Doyle Lewis, Daytona Beach, USA.
Okay, that was my final speaker. So these were speakers for 9A and 10A, or I'm sorry, 9I and 10A.
Okay. So we will address, we have a motion for 9I.
Yes.
Do we have any other comments from the commission regarding 9I?
Like I said before, this is long overdue, and we need to honor our history.
Yes, ma'am. Well, all righty. We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations. Good job.
We're going to move on to item 10, which is our administrative items, and item 10A is the City Manager's Office, Orange Avenue Recreation Center Committee Report and Acceptance by the City Commission. This is a resolution accepting submittal of the Orange Avenue Recreation Center Committee's 2022 final report dated September 7th, 2022, and providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner Henry. Do we have any other comments, questions?
I think they have a presentation.
And his, oh, that's right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good.
You ready?
All right. Here's the picture. Oh, thank you. Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to review the recommendations of the Committee for the Revival of the Orange Avenue Rec Center. Our committee needed to answer 3 questions. First, should the rec center be designated a locally historic structure? Yes, it should, and you just did, so thank you. The impetus for this building was the presence of the second training base for the Army, Women's Army Corps. That base was placed here through the efforts of Mary McLeod Bethune. And after the, I got lost here. The base was placed here through the efforts of Mary McLeod Bethune and brought in $5 million a month, revenue desperately needed by the city after the country's entry into World War II. Second question to be answered was how can the rec center be repurposed to serve the community again? We are proposing a combination of 3 uses. A learning center, to make history come alive using interactive media, virtual reality, and computer-based learning. Beyond learning history through viewing presentations, students at our colleges and grades K through 12 could learn by developing new content in collaborative STEM projects. Students would have the opportunity to research the actual project, edit what they've learned, and format it into a cohesive narrative and program an interactive media presentation. We could also have a video recording booth to capture the history of Daytona Beach through the stories of our residents and our tourists. Personal recollections contextualize history, making it more accessible and meaningful. An affordable, centrally located community space, the revived main hall would be flexible enough to have plenty of room for a combination of activities, like events, celebrations, meetings, exhibitions, dances, performances, and classes. Food service would provide catering for events in an 80-seat Riverside Cafe. This could be an opportunity to partner with the culinary programs at BCU and DSC. High-profit frozen treats could be sold from the original ticket window. Here is a floor plan that shows how these uses, a learning center, flexible community space, and food service could be incorporated into the rec center. We think these uses would encourage repeat visits to the rec center. Content of the Learning Center will expand to include new topics, and older topics will always be available. An active community space with regular meetings and rotating exhibits would draw people to the building, and food service on the riverfront deck could be habit-forming. It could draw from the users of the Sweetheart Trail, the public library, visitors to the Esplanade, Jackie Robinson Field, and the Veterans Memorial Plaza, employees and customers of the Chamber of Commerce and the courthouse, as well as visitors to the Veterans Museum on the beachside. A revived rec center would draw business to Beach Street, giving tourists and residents alike another reason to come downtown. A revived rec center could provide other opportunities for community engagement. There's the potential for a shuttle service to link all that Beach Street has to offer, the rec center and the Veterans Museum. There's the potential for public art where visitors could mingle and take selfies. Third, what are the proposed funding sources? We recommend the cost be covered primarily through grant funds. Before a final cost can be known, key decisions need to be made because funding is best determined after initial planning and design when costs, budgets, partnerships, and schedules are known. Grant writer Beth Gibson indicated that if this plan gets full support and becomes a hard project with an implementation plan, that it will be a very competitive project. In addition to grants, operational expenses could be met by revenue from food service, event space rentals, virtual reality use, dances, performances, classes, and some museum exhibits. This plain boxy building started out as a simple place for recreation. With a revival that could take it well into tomorrow, the rec center would become a vital reminder to us that our future is created by the intersection of our history and our community. In conclusion, the committee requests that the commission ask the city manager to create an action plan for the next steps to restore and repurpose the rec center per our recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I do want to say thank you so much for putting this committee together and allowing us the opportunity to come up with these ideas. It was a great group of people to work with, and I'm very happy that you are giving the building another chance. I hope you all vote yes. Thank you.
Good evening, Commission, City Manager, Mayor. Good to see you all. As you've already heard from Ann Ruby, who was the chair for the committee, what can we say? There's a myriad of different uses that they have come up with. I am Paula Long. I'm a planner with the city, and I have acted in the capacity of liaison for this committee, who has served diligently for the task that was ahead of them, and they have presented you with some information that I hope that you will take into consideration. What I'm here to talk to you about tonight, and I don't want to belabor the time because you do have other things to discuss, but before I get started with that, I do want to, again, thank you for giving that continued opportunity for the citizens of Daytona Beach to continue to engage collectively so that things like this can be able to come forward. This was something that was unprecedented, that had not happened in this capacity before. An ad hoc committee, what is that? How in the world does that exist? We have real committees, but an ad hoc committee with a specific purpose and a time to complete something, that hadn't happened before. So thank you for doing that. I hope that you continue to encourage everyone, not just the people here in the city of Daytona Beach, because you each touch other communities, other organizations, to have their citizens engaged in opportunities like this. I want to also thank these committee members, and they're in the room, some of them, not all of them, but I just want to call their names quickly. If you're in the room or watching, stand up at home and stand up in here. Bill Chapin, Keisha Harris, Evan Smith, Ann Ruby, the chair for this committee, the vice chair, Kenneth Hunt, and the committee secretary, Dr. Stephen Pyle. It couldn't have happened without them. These are their thoughts, their efforts. Even when we were extended a little bit longer, they wanted to make it right for you, and that's what they did. So what we're here today to do, obviously, is to present information, but I'm also here to talk to you about some additional steps, the next steps. Where do you go from here? So what we're talking about right now is adaptive reuse. This is not a concept that we have examined or instituted in our city, but we do have an example of this just down the street in Ormond Beach. Their firehouse right on Granada is an adaptive reuse. It was renovated in 2007 and became a law office from 2008 until 2014. Now it's actually being used by the Salty Church as an outreach center. So adaptive reuse does work. We have an opportunity to not just have adaptive reuse, we have an opportunity for adaptive multi-uses, as you have seen. These are things that are happening all over the state of Florida. This is not a new concept. If you have visited Tampa, Tampa actually has a project that probably many of you have visited at some point. It's called the Amateur. And people have visited there, you've eaten there. If you visited there, you've attended events in that center, art galleries, all kinds of things. Gainesville right now, attempted to do and is attempting and doing the same thing that you're talking about doing right now. What is that? To put an RFP process together so that they can have adaptive reuses happening in their Main Street firehouse. They literally just voted to put forward their RFP process last month. This is not a new concept to the state of Florida, it's just new to us. So in this process, just so that you're aware, you heard it, but the people here in the audience didn't hear this before. Unless they actually attended the workshop, and then you're gonna get it a second time. We had a multitude of different divisions, and I thank you again for allowing for all the divisions in the city to participate in this think tank process. It's not that it happens just because these individuals came together and did it. We had to outreach, but we were given permission to be able to do that outreach. Those different divisions, in no particular order, but I wanted to be on record, and we give you exuberant thanks for allowing us to do that. Growth management and planning. The city manager in the city clerk's office. I know I got on your nerves, like literally. Every week I had a meeting, I know. But it was necessary, and you see the results of that, right? The legal department, the audio and visual team of technology and information systems, and a special shout out to Xavier Campbell, because he literally was the right hand for the technology part that needed to happen every single time that we met. So thank you for allowing that to happen. Business enterprise management, who were saying, what in the world did they possibly need us for? Because you guys actually already have spaces that you rent out for the city. You can be able to give us information about how do we do this, what size, what is required, can we do percent rent? They were instrumental, and they really were thinking, why are they calling me for that? Because we needed that information for later. Parks and Recreation, if we're gonna do this with just our staff, how can we do that in the places that we're already doing it right now? So again, they're wondering, why are they asking me this? Because we're gonna need that information later. This is gonna be part of your RFP process. Public Works, we wanted to also make sure that we included what we already had here in the city, and they were very instrumental in making sure that that happened and including the Sweetheart Trail in that process as well. So we had Public Works come over, and they were more than happy to give us the information that was needed for that purpose. In addition to that, the longtime partner of the city for funding sources, Planning Solutions, who came multiple times, in person and virtually, to assist in making sure that we had information to present that would be valid and that would be something that you could get behind. All of these things went into it. In the next 6 to 12 months, we really see staff doing fact-finding so that we can be able to put an RFP process together, not dissimilar from Gainesville, because Gainesville is one of the models that we look to right now for our public arts program, as well as their mural program that they have in place. We all enjoy those things that we see. That's a good model. We're going to use them as a model for adaptive reuse too. Looking at that, looking at Rockledge in Florida, they also have an adaptive reuse program. So we're going to be doing some fact-finding for those RFP processes to go into place and to find the right people that can be able to do what's necessary. I'm not going to keep talking because you see I could just go ahead and talk if I'm passionate about it, right? So I'm going to let it go. But again, I just want to say thank you to each of you who gave the consideration, who allowed for the citizens to engage in this very necessary process. And I hope that you continue to do that. This is an adaptive multi-reuse situation. We very well in the very, very near future can have another adaptive reuse process happening in another location. So this is a good opportunity on a smaller scale to be able to do some things. We thank you. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Who was responsible for appointing her to be the liaison? You did a good job.
Yes.
I think she was nervous because I just went in her office and said that's right.
You did a good job because what you just said summarized everything that has happened and was completely engaging and insightful, and it is appreciated. And I want the community to understand the quality of work that goes on behind the scenes, and what she explained was what I already know, that when we give a directive from this dais, because a lot of times in the community you'll say, staff should do this, staff should do that. I personally don't give a directive with this commission's approval, because it doesn't happen without all of us, without understanding that. Because a year ago, we directed you all to go and get with the police chief, and cost us a whole lot of money, a whole lot of time. But the police department is a lot more successful right now because we did that. And the chief is happy. The citizens, see, this process right here, what excited me, this is, what did we call this week? Citizen government, local government week. And it couldn't have happened at a better time, because this is what civic engagement is all about, and is also what happens when you're a commission that is willing to embrace that. She said it, let's find other ways to embrace it, but it costs money, but it's what makes for a great community. And again, hats off to you all. Thank you to the committee. It is true, you all selected, every one of you selected an excellent person, diverse, with diverse skills, came together for an absolutely awesome project. We have a motion, we have a second. So let us vote for it and make our decision, and we'll have additional comments. Motion and a second. All those who are in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Good job. Good job. Do any of you have any additional comments?
Well, I wanted to thank Paula. I call her Paula too, because I'm Paula 1. For her hard work as well, to accept the responsibility given to her by the mayor. And I thought she eloquently represented the committee and herself in sharing with us in layman terms so that everyone could understand what transpired. And I just want to also conclude by saying, and she's a Delta.
I knew that. Thank you. Yeah.
I attended a few of the meetings, and it was inspiring to see the passion and the intelligence and the cooperation between the committee members. It was ideal. We should only have every committee work like this one did. And I believe they were very successful in going above and beyond what we instructed that we wanted from them.
Okay. Any other comments before I ask the next thing? Okay. We need to embrace what they have recommended. So do we embrace that to direct the manager and staff to?
Do we need a motion on that?
Do we need a motion?
If you give just clear direction as a group,
Yeah, we good.
consensus would be fine.
We voted on it, so y'all good.
Yeah, okay, we're good.
Yeah. I do want to thank Paula for her dedication. I would walk in her office and just start talking, and I talk fast, and I just walk away, but she never complained. I didn't want her to change my mind. She is ready to move forward with the recommendation from the committee and also at the direction of the commissioner to put a RFP together to show what it would take to have this building come back to full operation. And so you'll see all of that along the way. I don't want anyone to think that, we've already got the money, but we're going to put something in place over the next couple of months that we can bring back and get someone to say what's the best use based on the recommendation from the committee. And one of the things I want Paula to do is stay in connection, even though the committee has dissolved, but to work with Ms. Ruby to make sure the RFP stays on what they recommended to you all. So it'll be a consistent thing that we bring back.
Okay, thank you. Thanks again. Okay.
Okay. We're going to move on to item 10B. It's the Development Administrative Services Planning Division, Third Amendment to the O'Connor Capital PD Plan Development General. This is an introduction of an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance approving the Third Amendment to O'Connor Capital Plan District Agreement to modify the scenic thoroughfare overlay district landscape requirements along Williamson Boulevard, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the Third Amendment, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And are there any comments or questions from the commission on this introduction of an ordinance?
No.
Okay. The public hearing and final action will be November 2nd. And we're going to move on to item 10C. This was an item added to the agenda. This is the federal funding assistance request flooding. It's a resolution authorizing the mayor and the city commission to execute on the city's behalf individual letters to Congressman Michael Waltz, Senator Marco Rubio, and Senator Rick Scott regarding federal funding assistance to help alleviate flooding issues in the city of Daytona Beach and providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner Traeger. Yes, sir.
Mayor, members of the commission, Hardy Smith, Government Relations Administrator for the city. Part of your action tonight includes a follow-up report on action to the direction that you established at the last city commission meeting. So there were several things I wanted to give you a quick action report on. Number one, the commission expressed a desire to organize meetings to Tallahassee and Washington to visit with legislative leaders at the state level, also leaders in Washington at the federal level. We're working on coordinating those visits now. We're wanting to make sure that we identify the best first opportunity. So that's probably going to be after the first of the year. Right now, between now and election time, you're not going to see anybody there, and then they're not there until after the first of the year. But we will get that information as quickly as we can, start assembling schedule dates, building in appointments, and communicating back to you as far as scheduling details to go. One of the other items that you asked for action on, community letter writing and communicating, and to be as we've talked about this, we realize that to be effective, we really have to be specific, and we have to say exactly what we're asking for, because quite frankly, what happens a lot of times is you communicate your passion, you communicate your concern, and the folks that you're listening to, they'll share with you. They feel your pain. They understand your issue. They stand with you and thank you for coming by to visit. And then it ends right there. But if we have specific projects that we can ask for help for, so funding for a certain item, such as what was mentioned tonight, a need for generators at lift stations and emergency generators. Projects like that are something that you can make a specific ask for. You know the dollar amount, you know where the funds are going to come from, and you can start pinning people down when you're asking for their support. We're working to make that specificity happen. We've already started working internally and also out into the community to develop what I call a list, a shopping list, from big to small, small to big. And nothing is too small of an item, nothing is too big of an item. At this point, no budget concerns, no handcuffs on the creative thinking. We would bring this list back to the commission to prioritize from a strategic standpoint, and then we would be able to incorporate the items that you feel are the most important. This could go into our legislative program. This could go into our federal program, most definitely tied into our letter writing program, so that residents and those that are being involved at the grassroots level have, again, specificity on what they're communicating. Information posting on the website and send outs such as utility bills was discussed. That refers back to what I just shared with you. Specificity is going to be so important, so we're working on that. The letter on the item on the agenda tonight for your action, a desire for a letter from the commission to Congressman Waltz was expressing your desire and support for him taking action. That has evolved thanks to an incredibly positive meeting that we were able to have with Senator Rubio the Saturday after that Wednesday commission meeting. And let me just briefly explain. When the senator asked, well, specifically, what can I do to help the city of Daytona Beach? He was really focused on Daytona Beach, and we were in a meeting with all of the other cities in our neighborhood. We said, well, what about the past precedent during disaster mitigation legislation of opening up the cap on the New Start projects by the Corps of Engineers. So if you remember at the last meeting, I talked about the New Start and those nuances and the degree of difficulty. And he said he could support that. Now, that was extremely significant. The manager was there to hear it. Our Commissioner Reed was there to hear it. His legislative staff from the Washington office, who is the one who does this business, this work, was there to hear it. And ever since that meeting on Saturday, we've been working with our team in Washington to make sure those comments were memorialized and his staff knows we're coming. And so that led us to realize, rather than a single letter to Congressman Waltz, we would be better served to create 3 individual letters who address specific actions that the 3 members of our congressional delegation are dealing with. So that's why there's a letter to Congressman Waltz, there's a letter to Senator Rubio, there's a letter to Senator Scott. A little bit unusual, but we felt that would be best for communicating the intent of what the commission asked for at the last meeting. So those 3 letters are included as a part of the resolution for your action tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second, and we realize that I think this is an important moment for us. Push forward. Do we have any other comments? All right. All those in favor?
Hang on, Mayor. There's no public comment, I assume.
There is not.
And this will need to be signed by the entire commission. Are we going to circulate that
It is
tonight
done.
for signatures? It's all done? Okay, very good. Okay.
I can always throw it away if they didn't.
Oh, the public records, but anyway.
All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Good job.
That was our last item on
Okay.
the agenda.
All right, that was our last item, and first commission comments are commission.
Can too.
Cantu, thank you. I thought it was over there.
First of all, we have the trunk or treat, and we have a second one this year. Can you hear me? Is it on? Okay. Our second, this will be our second year for the trunk or treat, which will be on Halloween, Monday night from 6 to 8 at City Hall. We will have face painting, games, pumpkin patch, costume contest. So, and also Commissioner Henry, thank you for chipping in for this. And another thing, this will be our second year as well, on November 10th for our veterans, employees, 115 veterans. We will be doing another luncheon.
Okay.
And thanking them for their service and thanking the city manager as well for giving them the rest of the day off after that with pay. And I believe that's it.
All right, big deal, big time, good stuff. Commissioner Henry?
Just one announcement. Sorry, just one announcement, and that is that we will be having a community meeting for the Madison Heights area next Wednesday, October 26th, from 6 to 7:30 at YSG to discuss some of the concerns for the residents in that community.
All right.
That's my only comment tonight.
All right, Commissioner Reed?
I don't promise to be brief, but I don't promise to be real long either. Since we met last, I've had a birthday. Come on, tell me.
Birthday.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say, none of your business, that, we lost an employee, Ray Murphy, and we had a time celebrating his life. Our staff showed up and showed out in support of him, and it was just a beautiful ceremony. It's not often that you can say that about a homegoing service, but it was a beautiful service. I tell you, it was laughter, it was great stories, and I went to high school with Ray, but I never knew he cracked jokes on people. He told, I can't remember Sharon's last name, but he told Sharon she must have known Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. And he said, I know you knew Noah. What kind of wood did y'all use for the ark? And I was like, Ray was cracking jokes? So we learned so much about him. He has continuously participated in the Mayor's Fitness Challenge. He won one of the awards in this last go-round. And I just wanted to just stop and recognize that we had lost one of our soldiers for the city and that he was celebrated in high honor by the city because he was a homeboy, born and raised right here. And we had, about 50 or 70 city employees. When the manager had them to stand up, it was whoosh. You could hear the whoosh when everybody stood up, so it was really nice. Then I know they're going to talk about this later, but I just want to remind everyone that the historic Midtown 5K is this Saturday, and we have marked our trail, and I see Miss LaQuetta McGill in the audience, and I did see Pastor at one point, Pastor Robinson. Is he still here? Okay, I see him. I couldn't see him past Commissioner Henry. I want to thank all of the citizens, the staff, the organizations, and too numerous to name, who all have come out and who have helped through this storm. Let's just talk for a moment about the elephant in the room. It's been a time, and for some it's been more of a situation than for others. And I just wanted you to know that that our conversations are still continuing on Friday morning while I was already in Jacksonville. The manager and I and Sean and Mr. Woodyard, I want to say Woodyard, but he wants to go hard with the yard, who's the CEO of the Housing Authority, met with Tom Self via Zoom, who's the Central Florida Regional Director for the Rubio office. And we talked further about what needs to be done for Daytona Beach. And he gave us permission to call him directly. He said when things go through Tallahassee, it takes about 90 days to clear, to make sure it's legit, to make sure the people that are writing, are legit and what have you. So we have a direct line to that office now. And I understand that he's already moved on some of the things that we've discussed. And I know some folks have concerns, these are nonpartisan seats. But I don't care if you're red or blue. I want you to remember me when you get in office. That's all that matters. That you remember that you are representing citizens when you're sitting in that seat. And so I'll talk to anybody that's going to help make a change for us. And I wanted to say at our neighborhood watch meeting, the county manager tried to throw us under the bus. County chair tried to throw us under the bus. He talked about how Margaritaville and some of the other areas that we've all voted on to be built out in West out for us are the cause of the flood. It's been flooding for 30 years. Those things that
more than that, right?
More than that, Cynthia. So to say the things that we've recently built have caused the flood, that's not true. It's been flooding for a long time.
And Avalon, which hasn't even built one home.
Okay. Hasn't even built a home. He's saying it's causing a flood. But I know, our folks have an immediate need. I've had an opportunity, just like some of you have, to have gone to businesses in my zone who have grave concerns. I've seen the trash outside my neighbors' yards and in my community. And as we stated, I had the ride in the back of the SUV with the sheriff and Senator Rubio, and we took him through those areas so that they could see the devastation. And talking with the manager and with the city attorney yesterday in my secret meeting, is John still here? He says those meetings are our secret meetings. I asked, how could we, and I want y'all to think about this, how could we give some immediate relief? What can we do? I mean, some of these things that we got to do are going to take some time. And we understand that, but folks are hurting right now. And what I asked them to consider was what we did for COVID. We allowed our citizens for their water bill to be waived for a couple of months. And that might do a lot for some. It'll take away one less bill that they've got to worry about. And they may be running water right now just trying to clean their house excessively. So I want us to just talk about that. I mean, we did it for COVID. Can we not do it for this? They're wanting the city to do something. And what's in our control? We control utility billing. Okay? Can we talk about that right now? What are your thoughts in regards to that? And what I'm suggesting is at least for a couple of months. I don't remember how long we did it. Bob, you're going to do some research. Did you get a chance to talk to Patricia?
I will.
Okay. Like maybe till January.
I think, first, and I don't disagree with that, but I would say that we should allow the staff to bring some proposal, because this is different. And I said this then, and my neighborhood didn't flood.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have any damage. So I don't think that we should benefit from that. Whereas in COVID, we did it where everyone in the city benefited. But in order to, one, be fair, and then two, if you want to do it in a way that it's multiple, I think there has to be some process for application for people who have been affected, so that they're the ones that benefit. And we don't want to be harsh and, go out to people's house and try to check things out, but you have to come up with some procedure that makes it fair, because those of us, and that's one thing that people are not addressing. New properties are not flooding, and it's not just because, it's because the whole design is more modern. And so that's one of the things that the guy that's elected as the county chair is not acknowledging. It's better technology, and it's, the drainage is better, and there are reasons that they're not flooding. That's different than why these areas are flooded. They've been flooding in Midtown for over 70 years. That's not a new thing.
Exactly.
So to say that it's new, or that area caused it, would be inaccurate. So I think that you're on to the right track, but I think that we would be wise to say, staff, take those things into consideration, bring us something back that we could approve to be able to benefit the people who were affected. And if there's other suggestions, we can offer those now.
Also considering doing something for the business community, because there are some businesses.
Well, I think that's included in
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Well, I thank you all for the nods of acceptance to that proposition. And Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments.
Thank you. And thank you. Thank you very much. Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to say, I was just looking on this add-on, Commissioner Traeger. I'd like to say thank you for your donation to the city's trunk or treat and the Veteran Museum. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Traeger?
Well, I want to say also many, many, many thanks to the staff who worked through this, who left their own families to protect our city. Quite often we don't thank them enough, but I do feel that thanks is due to them a lot. And to the police and the fire who also went out and left their families. And I am so happy to see the spirit of cooperation, of neighbors helping neighbors, of people banding together in our city. We cannot get things accomplished usually just one by one, but banding together, we can do great things. And I thank the people for doing this. And let's keep on. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll start by thanking all the departments for their continued work after Ian, especially Public Works. Thank the Rec Committee and the Police Department for alerting the residents about the unapproved truck event that's coming up this weekend. I try not to blow my own horn. Have mentioned and talked about flooding since before 2016 when I ran against you the first time. I'm kind of sad that we had to come to this to get us to start having a real serious conversation about dealing with that flooding. But now we have the opportunity. I don't want us to drop the ball. I want us to do anything and everything we can to deal with it before this happens again. Oh, yeah. I want to compliment the mayor and the city manager on the coordinated gray and purple attire for the evening. Do y'all share a stylist, or did y'all just call each other up and decide what to wear?
Well, iron sharpens iron.
Oh, man. That's it for me. You got it.
All right. That's right. Commissioner May?
It's been a very busy week. I've been still dealing with people calling me about FEMA. So much to my delight, the chamber was kind enough to have a meeting with some FEMA representative, and they then recommended me to try to connect them with some community members. And I recognize that people already know about FEMA. There are still some people in groups who are kind of falling through the cracks. So I've started reaching out to some groups of people. If you have a huge contact base, please contact me, and I'm happy to put you in touch with this particular person. It's more about information and the resources that you can still get if you don't qualify for FEMA, let's say. There's still some other avenues and portals that you can go down. And they're also recommending that if you apply and you're declined, do it again. Just keep working at it. And then you reach a point where they have additional resources that they can offer to you as well. What was interesting was some of the medical device resources they had that cost money. They actually have groups of people who are willing to donate this, but you have to do it a certain way. So I have that connection. I've already put them in contact with Faith, and I've already put them in contact with the Daytona Beach area realtors who have a long reach. If you have any lists for anywhere, please contact me, and I'm happy to give you the link directly, and then you can communicate with this particular individual. They will be in town until November 2nd, at which point they move their resource somewhere else. So please contact me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Commissioner May, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, before you begin, would you also share that information with the rest of us so that we could also share that with citizens?
Oh, I would love that. Certainly. Happy. I'll do it in an email. Thank you so much.
The Mary McLeod Bethune statuary journey to Statuary Hall has concluded our work. We've concluded our work, and the documentary highlighting the process was aired last week, and it's worth your time for all the things that we've done, and this has been one of the proudest, I would say one of the things that I am most honored to do has been to serve on that committee. And the documentary is grade A, and our city and our community should be proud of it. So what I'm currently working on, and several groups are going to work on this, is how we can make certain that everyone in Daytona Beach has an opportunity to view it. And so what we will do, one of the things we may do is we may rent a movie theater. The possibility is that we might see if we can show it for a couple weeks down at the Cinematique. I'm not sure exactly what the process will be, but this will be under the educational process using the COVID funds in all likelihood. But the hope is that every child, every adult, every person who wants to see it would have an opportunity to do so. I am very honored and proud of it. It's something that she was a bad woman. And here's the thing that I wanted to conclude my remarks tonight. A lot was said, and about I almost called her a young lady, but I honored WAC Miss Jenny, as I guess I should call her. But we have been, as a city, and I say this, I don't say this lightly, because almost daily, if not weekly, I'm working with some woman who's just like a mad, awesome wheel for greatness. And I really believe that that is, I hope that every woman in our community embraces the legacy of Dr. Bethune as the not just the matriarch of the essence of femininity and the strength and the vitality and the awesomeness of women in our community. And there are so many of them. I dare not name them, but I'm always working with them. I'm always sitting there thinking, man, Dr. Bethune would be proud of you. And so I think we should embrace that spirit, and let's get out and see the documentary as it becomes available. Mr. Manager, do you have any comments? Sir?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, at this time we will hear from the greatest citizens in the United States, the citizens of Daytona Beach.
Okay. My first speaker is Jenny Nazak, and on deck is Cynthia Slater. Yeah, there's another form. Jenny Nazak, 501 Harvey. I'm so used to going last.
So this past week, I attended the Outside CoLab Sustainable Landscaping Conference, and maybe I think some other people in this arena may have also attended. And it was very exciting as always. And they had some tours of master, like new developments or, housing developments that have native landscaping palette. And so things are becoming more commercial, more commercially viable. The knowledge base in this region is increasing. So it's very exciting. There's many, many free resources, informational resources at our disposal, and anyone can contact me for information. I don't know if I've ever told you all about this before, but during COVID, I attended a global conference about green infrastructure, and some of the people I met online were like this guy in Singapore who designs skyscrapers that are fitted with native landscaping all the way up the skyscraper, and it's included to attract the native animals that are original to the region. So it's a very densely populated city, but the residents coexist in tune with nature. And I just think that's amazing. So I picture Daytona Beach totally covered with native Florida vegetation everywhere, and almost like a sci-fi landscape. Let's see, what else was I going to talk about? I have an idea. This is about the citizens advisory boards, like the Beachside Advisory, Beachside Redevelopment Board and the other boards. Right now, a person can be absent, like they can be out of town, and they can participate in the meeting, but I don't think they can vote. Like it can become a problem with the quorum. And I want to explore the possibility of maybe having it be that a person can participate remotely. I think since the Supreme Court was able to do deliberations by telephone during COVID, it seems like boards should be able to also. I think they can't vote or something.
They're allowed to vote.
Are they?
Yes, the board needs to accept their appearance virtually, but once that's done, they can vote.
Then they are allowed to.
But you do have to have a physical presence to hold the meeting, for the quorum, I'm sorry.
The quorum to hold the meeting. So I wonder if there's some way to,
State.
Is that a state thing?
But there's really nothing to be done here. If your question is, can they vote, the answer is yes,
Okay.
as long as there's a motion and that virtual appearance is approved.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. And what else? Oh, to be continued. I will email you as always. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Cynthia Slater, and on deck is Marjorie Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Slater. I live at 815 Cottle Circle South here in Daytona Beach. And I stand before you again referencing the flooding that took place in our community as a result of Hurricane or Tropical Storm Ian, according to the time that Ian hit Daytona. I won't stand before you to share the devastation that took place as a result, because you already know that. And I won't stand here to share with you the loss of property, both personal and structural, that as a result of the tropical storm, because you already know that. I won't stand before you to share the mental trauma that this storm has caused, and I hope that you know that. I won't stand before you to tell you about the out-of-pocket expense that this tropical storm has caused the residents of the city of Daytona Beach. And I hope that you know that. And of course, you have met and talked about the causes and the effects of this storm. But I do want to talk to you about how you can assist the residents in the relief of the burden that this storm has caused. And I want to thank my commissioner, Commissioner Reed, and the representatives on this dais to talk about how you can relieve the residents that was affected by this storm, particularly through the COVID dollars that was provided to this city. And I know that a lot of dollars have been spent on various organizations and initiatives, and that's okay. I support that. But we're hurting right now. Hurricane Ian doesn't care what race you are, where you lived, but particularly more so in the Midtown area. But we as the community, as the city of Daytona, really need some relief. And whatever you do, whatever you decide, whether in our water bills, but if you don't live in your house, you shouldn't even have a water bill to pay for. But I appreciate that as well. But I do hope that you get together and you recognize the stress and the financial burden and the trauma that this storm has caused all of us. We all know somebody in this community, in this city, that this storm has impacted. And I just hope that you all would reach deep into your hearts and in your minds to let us know that you care about us as residents of this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Marjorie Johnson, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Marjorie Johnson, 122 South Peach Street. I want to thank our city manager, Derek Fujita, and the committee that works on the Orange Avenue building, recreation building. The city manager, the previous city manager, Jim Chisholm, and this commission, and I'm calling the names out, Paul Reed and Ed Henry, Ruth Traeger, and Cornelia May. They was instrumental in allowing this building to fall into dilapidated condition. So it was right for this city to correct this injustice, and you too, Mayor Henry. It should have never been able to fall into that condition. The same thing with the police department that you told them. So I'm so happy that we have a new city manager that's coming in here and correcting some of these injustices. I'm one of the ones who stood here and advocated for him to get the job, because I'm one of the ones who advocated for him to get the job. And so I like to say tonight that we have to put people in office that can get the work done, and some of them are not, because that building represents the Wax and Miss Mary McLeod Bethune, who worked so hard to make that building happen. So I'm pleased tonight that that passed, and it's an injustice. Also, I want to talk about the pavilion, the one over there where you closed down when you became the mayor. Mayor Hendry, we need to open that pavilion up. I've spoken in the past about it. It needs to be open so the taxpaying residents can have access to it. I'd also like to say that if you don't open the pavilion, that is an injustice to the residents of this city. I went through there several weeks, and all I see is bird crap all over the place. You took away the benches, and you took everything away from our residents. That's not the job. We had all our other mayors that was here, Richie and Scarlett Golan. That pavilion was open to the public. Also, there was other things that happened. You took away our freedom of speech in the meeting. And when the city manager came in, he corrected that. I was one of the ones that spoke at this podium to get the residents of this city back into the meeting so they wouldn't have to speak after you adjourn the meeting when it's not on the record. That was another injustice. So I'm very happy tonight that we have Ken Strickland here, who is accessible to the constituents of this city, and our city manager. I had a meeting with them that was very productive, and I brought Ms. Malley there, and she talked about the flooding problem. And the city manager explained to us why that flooding problem was like that. But they should have drained that tick over. That caused people a lot of problems. Thank you. Get your jobs done. You're here to do the people's work.
Our next speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Patricia Hurd.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granbury Avenue. One, if you haven't been by the Veterans Plaza, it is under construction. That's the Veterans Plaza at the bottom of the Silver Beach Bridge. It's finally under construction. Yeah. So now with what you've done, it creates kind of a synergy, knock on wood. Secondly, I went to Bike Toberfest on Friday and Saturday nights. Saturday night, they decided to close it early. This is the first time that they've blocked off the entrance to Main Street at 1 o'clock. The event went till 3 o'clock. The police officers were not aware of that. I was told that the bars were to close at 2 o'clock. You guys had changed the time of closing. But if I recall correctly, you had certain days that they were allowed to stay open till 3 o'clock. So the supervisor that I spoke with pointed at his watch and said, "It's 2:05. They're supposed to be closed." And I'm like, "The city didn't." And he says, "Well, we weren't told." So they had blocked off both entrances and every single street all the way down. You could only leave. So a female supervisor, thank God, she was very calm. I wouldn't have been talking to me. I thought she should have gotten upset. But she kept saying, "Well, the event's still going on. People just can't come in." And I'm like, you can't stop people at 1 o'clock from coming in and saying the event's still open. So I would like to look at that because we went through this 25 years ago with Cavagna and Main Street Station. He wanted a liquor license, so he kept telling everybody, if I don't get my liquor license, they're trying to close the event. And several people that own property on Main Street thought or feel that the city is attacking Biketoberfest and Bike Week and trying to shut it down. I don't want that to come out again. We went through that once. We don't need to do it again. And Paula, people don't realize your secret meeting comments that you keep pulling up with all the time. It has to do with the Sunshine Law and whether the city commission and the boards of the city have to abide by the Sunshine Law. I believe they should abide by the Sunshine Law. So apparently, that's your view that you don't need to abide by the Sunshine Law. I believe they do. And lastly, the redistricting is coming. That's it, Paula. The redistricting is coming up sometime this year. Whenever you have the meetings for the redistricting of the zones, realize it's 3 years after the census. It's been 3 full years, and it's been 3 years of growth. So those numbers are going to be off by thousands of dollars. Yes. We need time on it.
Time is up. Excuse me, Mrs. Hurd. I got this.
Oh, I have something too.
You go ahead.
I was going to take it too, but I'll let you go first.
Well, first of all, I don't think that we had one business over on Main Street complain about us closing early. Second of all, when you went to no, really, and believe me, my husband's an entertainer out there, so I think I would hear it. Okay, second of all, when you were at the county talking about us redistricting, that we weren't doing that, that is happening. Just, we do have 87,000 residents, and there's only one resident complaining about redistricting. And furthermore, and that is you. Furthermore, I'm not listening to just one resident. And actually, to tell you the truth, in Zone 4, you said I had 20,000 residents in Zone 4. I think you need to get your figures correct as well. And the 2020 census and the
Stop, you're not talking, you talk.
16,495, okay? Thank you.
Okay, your time is up, Mr. Nichols. Okay.
Commissioner Reed?
First of all, let me explain. It's really, you never know what's going to spew out of John's mouth. And 90% of the time, whatever he says is not correct. The joke in regards to the secret meeting, each of us, if you ever wonder why we come in here and it looks as if we've already made a decision, it's because we meet privately with the city manager and the city attorney and any director from one of the departments that we so choose for further discussion on the agenda prior to coming before you. He calls that a secret meeting. Sunshine law is when any of us talk to each other before we get on this dais. If we're going to coerce each other to go our way, it's to be in front of you. I know what the sunshine law is. Don't tell me that I'm not abiding by the sunshine law and that I don't respect the sunshine law. So the joke on the secret meetings is what he calls when we meet for further deliberation so that we understand what it is that we're deciding on your behalf.
Well said. Well said.
Our next speaker is Patricia Hurd, and on deck is Lucy Desmore. I already counted his. Thank you.
I would like to say, my name is Patricia Hurd, 822 Vernon Street, Daytona Beach, Florida. I was here on October the 12th, 2 weeks ago, and I talked about Bike Week, parking, and different things of the sort. I want you to know that Saturday morning when I went up there, my people had been, some of my vendors had been removed from Green Street. Now, Thursday through Saturday morning, they parked on Green Street. Even a police SUV was behind it, and the barricade. And I ask you all, did I not, Mayor? To be nice to the people when they come to town, especially on MMBB. And whomever that police was, I would like to meet him too, had them to move. They moved to MLK, to Friend's house and things of the sort. And then later, they couldn't even park in the Joe Harris Park. They had to be moved out of there. I want to know what is going on. I pay taxes in this city. As a matter of fact, too many to be treated like this. I want to know who that policeman was. I went out to the police stations Monday, but chief was on vacation or something of the sort, and I have not returned my call. No reflection on him. It's a reflection on that particular police who had them to move, and I'm not going to finish with it until I am satisfied. They did not, the road was open on Pearl Street where Johnny Pride and the Barretts to the park. Why couldn't it have been barricaded from MMBB to the park? I want to know that particular policeman so we can talk and someone else can talk with him too. Stop the clock, please. Is there any questions? Well, what are you going to do about it? No, I don't. I would love to know. Well, because you have the authority to ask the chief and to follow. There he is. And, you know, come on, chief. He's not.
Go outside and y'all talk about that. We're not gonna talk about that in the meeting. You take Ms. Hurd out.
So,
Take her out. No.
We'll go ahead.
Yep.
That's not gonna happen.
Yep.
I'm gonna run the meeting like that. The time is up.
I noticed you let my time run.
Well, it didn't matter.
That's okay. I'll take care of it.
Okay, our next speaker is Lucy Desmore, and on deck is Jeffrey Robinson.
Lucy Desmore, 1643 West Paradise Lane. Subdivision is Shangri-La. I've already spoken to my zone commissioner, who is Ruth Traeger. She was good enough to call back. I was the victim of an accident on last Thursday. My truck has been smashed in the front because I can't get out of my subdivision. And so, good thing I had another vehicle I could immediately go and get to continue to get around. But what I'm not going to do is I have to go out on that intersection there, headed to Bevel Road, and peep out and keep peeping out. Oh, God, can I turn left now or can I turn right? I am in the middle of Grief Share, which is a counseling service. My husband also passed less than 2 months ago, and I am in Grief Share counseling, and it is down the street at the Covenant United Methodist Church. I am not going to be where I cannot get out of my own subdivision without getting into an accident. And so what I want is a sign put there that shows everyone, do not block the intersection, of which it was blocked and I tried to go out. And then I was looking out to make sure I was moving through that area, and I was then smashed into, you can't see out of your own subdivision. And so I did not think I was hurt, but the last couple of days, I cannot turn my neck all the way around to the back to look back the other way, and I'm now going back to my insurance company to find out what I can have done I told them, oh no, I'm not hurt, just my vehicle. I am hurt, so I'm going back for that. What I want is a caution light put at that intersection. I hope we don't have to get a fatality there before something is done. So I'm just the victim of the accident, and the police officer said there had been others there and no one has reported anything. I said, well, I'm your representative because I will report it, which I've done, and I will be at commission meeting to talk about it to make sure it is on record. I want the caution light, a flashing light. I need the little ridges that you drive up on where people will know that it's time to slow down. And if they can't see the current sign saying, do not block the intersection, then something bigger in their light need to be there so they will know not to block the intersection. And this needs to happen sooner than down the road, not January. It needs to happen now because you're going to get a fatality out there. Then someone will go to work and try to get something to happen. But I wish we could get it done now. Thank you so much. Good job, Lucy.
Okay. Our next speaker is Jeffrey Robinson, and on deck is
Lori,
Sonderman.
125 Bay Street.
Okay.
Good evening. I just want to express my appreciation. My name is Jeffrey Robinson, 1628 Piccadilly Drive. I'm the pastor of Mount Carmel Missionary Baptist Church, and thankful to be here tonight and to share with you all. I don't come out as much as I should. I'm going to come out even more. You all really need my prayers. Thank you so much for your support of our Midtown Historic 5K run, walk. Thank you so much. I want to commend, first of all, Commissioner Reed for really helping in getting this race going. the Run Walk going. I also want to thank Ken Strickland for also coming on board and helping us as well. We did speak with Commissioner May, and she found out about it, and she's committed to helping us as well. We know that it's been a challenging time for many citizens all across this city with the pandemic and then with Tropical Storm Ian. And so we had this planned before all of this transpired, but it's happening now. And so we just want the community to rally around it. And let's just let it be a day of unity in our community, and let us let off some steam in a positive way. And let's see our community experience blessings. I'm with
LaQuetta Miguel,
Yeah.
1321 Tomoka Town Center Drive. I just want to thank everyone as well. I do want to thank Paula Long as well for being on the committee. Yes. Paula Reed, of course, and just thank everyone and hope that you all come out and support the race as well. So that's all I have. Oh, and Mayor as well. Yeah.
You all didn't receive support from me, but we corresponded.
We did.
Where I agreed.
Yes.
But you didn't receive it.
Not yet.
Could you add that to, like we donation, what is that, it was 500?
Correct.
500? Okay.
And 250.
I know it's Saturday, you just do it after.
We got some more
We
money
can do
over
it
here.
after, it'd be fine.
And just so you know,
Just know it's coming.
and just so you know, it's in my Bike Week funds already. I've already put the money in for it, so you'll be getting it.
Thank you.
Now, I want to say that Ms. McGill, in her previous role as VISTAR, she made certain that everything the city did got support. Children, health, anything we came and asked. And so that's appreciated. But the fact that you guys are now partnering to bring this to the community is another level, and we intend to reciprocate.
Thank you.
In the perpetuity.
Thank you. I
You've always
appreciate
been there for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Before you leave, she want to say something?
250, I would like to do 250 from my Bike Week fund.
To the 5.
as well.
Thank you very much.
And I will be there.
Yes.
I'll be racing against one person.
What are you ready?
Yourself?
Yourself?
He's 10 years old.
Oh.
Thank you all.
And Mr. Mayor, we have created some historical signs.
You all have registered. How many-
LaQuetta,
LaQuetta, how many people do you have participating?
Right now, we have 150 people have registered already.
Wow.
Our goal was about 75 to 100 because this is our first race, but we have over 150 have registered.
Awesome.
So that's amazing. Yeah. Thank you.
Great job. Thank
we have some historical signs that have been made that are going to identify businesses that were on MMB and along the path on George Ingram, which was Cypress at the time, that we'll be putting out to let people know when it was a Renaissance area for that part of town, what used to be there. So we'll be putting those out on Friday.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Our next speaker is Lori Sonderman, and on deck is Carmen Clark.
Hello, Lori Sandman. Sorry for the bad handwriting. 125 Basin Street. I'm an attorney, and I'm one of the tenants of Halifax Harbor Building, and I am one of the affected. I'm out of my office for the foreseeable future, and I wanted to just briefly speak to Commissioner May's statements earlier where she was talking about support for business owners in town who, although maybe not all are actually owners of property, there's a lot of tenants in town who've been affected and have no way of recovering the costs that have been incurred by Hurricane Ian. So I wanted to mention that. Mayor Henry, you did mention that you thought it would be a good idea to go after some grants to help support businesses. A lot of my clients are small business owners, And again, looking for any help that the city can give in terms of grant relief for business owners. So if I can help in any way, if you need somebody to help be a voice for that, I'm happy to offer my time to do that. The other reason I came tonight is because I wanted to make sure a lot of you are aware, but we had planned an event at the new Manatee Island Park, and it was a Veterans Day event. We had planned to use the whole 7-acre island for a Veterans Day celebration. One of the tragedies of Hurricane Ian was the compromise of the bridge. So we cannot have our event, and we have begun the process of telling all our vendors, our bands, our food trucks that we can't have the event. The hardest part is that we've hired a band of seriously wounded combat veterans to come and be part of this event. And they are coming. We have no way to support them, and we have no venue at the moment to have a concert. Commissioner May, I did succeed in talking to a 501c3 who would be able to accept funding. We're only looking for $6,500 so that we can continue our Veterans Day Festival, and we'd like to honor the veterans. One of the things I'd also like to do is honor Sheriff Chitwood and his team. Watching that video, I was, of the affected and have been bringing food to the people I know that don't have kitchens right now. So it means a lot to me to be able to bring some happiness. The name of the band is The Resilient, and I think we are resilient. Our community is resilient, and to come together and celebrate veterans and also the first responders who were there for us is what I'm asking. I do have a letter that explains a little more with some information on who the
If you'll
band
give
is.
it to the assistant clerk, and then we'll make sure the
Thanks very much.
commission gets it.
Appreciate it a great deal.
Our next speaker is Carmen Clark, and on deck is Suzanne Odina.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Henry and his commission, city manager. Okay, not on. Okay, to Mayor Henry, his commission, city manager. I'm here because I'm, in regards to the Ocean Center. I had opportunity to work with FEMA on Friday at the University of Central Florida, which was very eventful. I learned a lot. But at that event, we were told that the county had decided to take back the shelter, in which we were kind of shocked because there were so many people still displaced. My question is, why did they decide to do that? And thank God for the Red Cross, because the Red Cross did step in and they was able to find a shelter in Osteen, Florida. A lot of our consumers that are disabled, they had to go over there because they had nowhere else to go. And I'm trying to figure out, when I heard this, I was like, so where are these people supposed to go? They're still displaced, and I was it kind of bothered me because I'm a taxpayer here in Volusia County. I've been in Volusia County since the age of 3, and I've been working since the age of 19 and have never stopped working and have paid taxes. I'm trying to figure out because the Ocean Center, the only thing I know that goes on at the Ocean Center is graduation. I'm paying taxes for an empty building majority of the time. I thought it was very unfair that these individuals had to leave and go somewhere else, way over to Osteen, because there was nowhere else in Volusia County. Right now, people are still waiting on hotels because a lot of the hotels here in Daytona Beach is not taking the FEMA money. And our agency is working very diligently to assist with this. Just to let you know, to give some information, if you know a person with a disability that has still been displaced, they can contact our agency. If you want to take down the number, it's 386-255-1812, extension 301 or extension 312. 386-255-1812, extension 301 or 302. I mean, I don't, this is very, it's not personal to me, but being in the position that I am in now for the last 2 years of being on a scooter and I have had a disability since 2008. However, I'm on a scooter right now. I'm very passionate about individuals with disability and individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing and visually impaired. Mr. Strickland, I also have a message for you because I do know that you work closely with First Step Shelter, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're having issues with some of the people there. They're not very forthcoming with us, working with them, trying to help. Not all of them, but it's just been an issue of not playing nice. You know, so I just wanted to let you know that.
Are you talking about the staff at the shelter?
Yes, the staff.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if you can answer these questions. I know you can't right now, but I just want to know the answer. Why did the county take back the shelter?
I would simply say, first and foremost, I was very appreciative of the county during or immediately after the storm. We reached out, many of us, to them because we opened our Midtown Center, and it wasn't adequate, but, you know, we did that because it was what we had to do in the middle of a storm. So we reached out to the county, and they agreed to open the Ocean Center, and they did that.
Right.
And we're appreciative, and we think they made the right decision. But I would say that, you know, obviously, we don't control it. It's controlled by the county. So the person, I would just direct your questions to your county council and your county chair. Jeff Brower is the county chair. And I would ask them, you know, that's something for them to answer and not us.
I mean, and I appreciate your answer, Mayor Henry. I just wanted to bring to attention because, I mean, every time I come here, I'm talking about the homeless, and I'm talking about, you know, why this, why that. And, you know, I mean, it's unfortunate that I can't get answers, but it's because I care. I deeply care about our homelessness, and I was not displaced during the hurricane, and I only can imagine because I'm a person with a disability, and I would have had to go over to that shelter, leaving my home, not knowing what would the next day be like for me because I have a lot of needs, you know. So I'm just saying, I mean, thank God none of you all were displaced and did not have to live in the shelter, you know, so.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, all right. All right,
Thank you.
didn't mean to take up all the time, but, you know, that was just a concern.
Okay. You too. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Suzanne Odina, and on deck is Camille Holden Brown.
Live at 716 North Wild Olive. And I wanted to remind you all, I'm doing my 5-mile walk at 6 o'clock in the morning on this Saturday so that I can be at the Interfaith Sharing Conference that we're hosting at Our Lady of Lourdes. The topics that we hope to address are veterans, caregivers, food and clothing, housing needs, financial assistance, accommodations for those with disabilities, and prison ministry and random acts of kindness. And Ted Herdecki is going to be dealing with that because he and a bunch of others have been helping people that kind of fall through the cracks, don't have the funds to fix code enforcement violations. So again, it's this Saturday from 10 until 1 at Our Lady of Lourdes, and we hope that those that aren't running will come and join us and work together to share for the betterment of the community. Thank you.
Ms. Sue, code enforcement is now code compliance. They're helping our citizens, not enforcing. We want them to help them get into compliance, so the name has changed.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
Important.
Our next speaker is Camille Holden Brown, and on deck is Pierre Lewis.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your hard work and everything that you all are working on. I remember 11 years ago making smoothies at the Employee Health Fair at the Orange Avenue building. Some of you may remember that's how my husband and I started. Beach Street is where I have had a restaurant with my husband for the last 9 years. My kids have grown up scootering and playing on that street, and we recently purchased a building at 110 North Beach Street, which we're very proud of. Going through the pandemic and then coming right into a hurricane, as a small business owner, personally paying rent, 2 rents and a mortgage has been really painful. To close for a week, to have our equipment break down, insurance deny claims, lose all of our food inventory, and all of these things has been a challenge just to keep the doors open. But with the Ocean Center and with the help of Commissioner May, at the last minute, I don't know if some of you saw a text message that I put out an email. We were able to feed some people a hot meal that were at the Ocean Center with the food that I was able to salvage from my restaurant. So proud of that, but it was just like a little drop in the bucket. I mean, people are really hurting right now, and when you have a restaurant business, it's very unpredictable whether you're going to have an influx of people or not that day, but you have to cook anyway. So my proposal was that we're cooking every day. There's families that don't have a kitchen to cook in, or they're just trying to get to work and get their kids to school, and the last thing they want to do is worry about a meal. So if there is a way that some local restaurant owners like myself that have to cook every day, whether people are coming in or not, can, you can help us. We would love to donate food, but if you can also, if there's a way to commission us to cook as well, something 50-50 or just a way to work with us so we can support our community. We do it whether we've been given money or not. We've always been a big supporter of feeding our community. And if there's any small business grants similar to the ones we did during the pandemic, I think we got 3,000 during the pandemic, the small business owners. If there's something we can do for small business owners just to assist us while we're getting back on our feet so we can continue to serve our community. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Pierre Lewis, and on deck is Vanessa Lloyd.
Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street. Good to speak to the commission again and to the mayor. I didn't think I was going to come back up here, and then I heard my friend Jenny mention something, and actually the mayor that jogged my memory about something I talked to at the county council meeting before. When I was in Singapore, and I was there before, I noticed it's a place that really rains a lot. And I started thinking about what are some of the things, so you've heard all the situations about flooding, I know, but what are some of the solutions? So I don't want to talk until I finished off my list, but it's carpe diem, you got to seize the moment. So here I am seizing the moment. One of the things I know they have there is what's called sponge cities. So I would think that, I would hope that when you're starting to deliberate and think about things, you will think about that concept. The sponge city is where for so much amount of pavement that you have, then you have so much amount of vegetation. It allows that water to pour off is what it is. And even the concrete that we have here in America, it is impermeable. In other words, the water just sits on top of it. But the concrete that they have there is impermeable, so the water goes in it, but then it goes down. Because I noticed when I looked at my aunt that lives on Cottle Circle, the area that's there, the water didn't come in through the windows, it didn't come in there. On all those areas, it came in through the floor. So by way of that, we've got these sandbags. However, there's something called Dam Easy. And Dam Easy is something that you can do research yourself. You put it right in front of the door, and then you pump it up on the side, and it's got rubber mallets, and it seals the door. That's what they use over there. Seals the door and it seals the floor. So it's similar. You would think it's like a sandbag, but it's a metal. And now it is a little pricey. Some of them are $699 a piece. So you can do the math on that. But you'd probably have to give them out to only certain residents that's there. There's also these tubes, and it's got this. I was a scientist by nature, so I look at that. It's got this absorbent material. When you hand that out, it's a new style type of sandbags. Your residents would roll it around in front of their house, and as it gets more water, it inflates. It gets larger and larger and larger, and it seals on the doors or it seals on the surfaces. Because most of the residents, we say, when they had those damages, because the water went inside. As the mayor said, your area didn't flood because by design is that way. So I would offer that when you start to build your concepts of what we need to do as far as future planning and future solutions, maybe you could take a look at how sponge cities are designed and how that could work in some of the areas that are around here. That's what comes. Thank you.
A comment that the merchants on Beach Street actually gave me some of those ideas, and so the commission has that. Hopefully we'll read
Fantastic.
it. But those are good ideas.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Vanessa Lloyd, and on deck is Doyle Lewis.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ms. Lloyd.
I first want to say thank you, Paula. You know how much I appreciate you. And I want to agree with Cynthia. I'm not here to bring up what you already know. I'm here to bring up the process. And I'm glad you're here, Chief. I wanted you here. I started calling Thursday approximately 1:48 when I got a distress call from my daughter. We know that she lived in a flood zone. We knew that. So she was prepared to be trapped inside. What she was not prepared for was for the house to flood to her knees. And then for it to fill up with sewage water. When it started filling with sewage water is when she started calling me Mayor. And I called Paula. Paula gave me the number that you all put out. And the first thing that number said was, "This is not a working number. Please check your number and try again." That was the emergency number. I called Paula back. Paula said, "I copied." She sent me the flyer. She called it too, right, Paula? "This is not a working number. Please check your number and try again." Meanwhile, my daughter's still calling me and screaming because she has small kids. She had youngins and in there. So I called my pastor and I called Charles Bryan and we got a hold of, can't remember his name, over the code, one of the supervisors for code. Denzel. So he called my daughter. And Paula, you answered me on the second call during this storm. 1:48, Chief. I'm gonna give you the exact time. Because I want you, I'm just like Pat Hurd. I want you to identify these officers. I do. 1:48 Thursday. Okay, during the storm. So he called my daughter and said, "We want you to get out, look to your right, and there will be a truck waiting on you." Oh, I don't think y'all started that clock right. But anyhow, so she came out the door with her 5 kids and her husband, and there was no truck there. But it was an officer saying, "If you want us to rescue you, you got to walk to Bellevue." That's a block and a half. And I asked her, and they came running out with what they had on. She lost every single thing. And like someone got up and said, they don't own the place, they were tenants. And so, there's not really that help for them. And I'm going to try and hurry up, Mayor. But I wanted it recorded that this is what happened to her. Now, listen, I've been in Daytona 67 years, all my life. Born right here. I pay taxes too. So while I'm grateful that they rescued her, I did not like the process because they made the walk from their house to Bellevue. When she told me the water came to her stomach, I asked about my grandson. Where did the water? Do you know the trauma that they caused a little 10-year-old? It went to his neck. And they walking. You don't know snakes, alligators. We talking Bellevue. I just feel, and she told me she could look up towards Bellevue as they were walking. 2 officers, male officers, sitting in a truck taking pictures of them. No assistance whatsoever. Now, I feel like, so you say, Vanessa, what do you think should happen? It's too late to say, I'm sorry. I mean, we didn't expect the storm to deliver the water like it did.
We didn't, but
We didn't. I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna say this. We got to look at our process because when that truck got there, so they could not make it through that water, they should have said to her, ma'am, we're here to rescue you, but we need adequate equipment. Not tell them if you want to be rescued, you walk up here to us. That needed to be said, Mayor. That needed to be said because our process is wrong. You know, and I'm sorry if I'm going to offend someone. You know when you got a call to come to Bellevue, you know what those residents look like.
okay.
Okay?
Well-
But you know when you got a call to go to Fairway Estates. That's a diverse resident.
Your time is up. ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I'm just saying.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
You need to.
We got it.
Mayor,
Thank you.
Mayor, could Chief respond to that, please?
If he wants to, but he doesn't have to.
Would you like to
The
respond?
time is up. There's nothing to respond to me, but something.
Okay. Okay, ma'am, and then you can sit down while he responds. 'Cause your time has.
You got the right one, yeah.
Good evening, Chief Young, Daytona Beach Police Department. So I apologize for what happened to your family. There could have been several things going on during that time period. Number one, we just purchased a high water vehicle. I think we talked about that in the last meeting. I think these officers went above and beyond to assist every resident that we could. These cops worked around the clock. Okay, so if the officers asked them to walk from their residence to a certain location, I'm pretty sure it's because that truck that they were in was not high enough to get to them. It couldn't get to the resident. That's why we were in need of the high water vehicle, which this commission has already granted, so it is on the way. Now listen, we are far from perfect. I'm working hard to make sure that every officer on this police department understands that at our core, we are nothing more than public servants. I say that all the time. My goal is to make sure that I have a department that understands the goal is to be professional public servants. Sometimes we fall short. So they're not above correction. And I'm working really hard to make sure. But in that situation right there, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because I know what we had going on around the clock during that storm. These cops were heartbroken that they could not help more people. It was the cops that did the research to get this high water vehicle. They did the research to get the high water vehicle because some of them did not sleep because we couldn't help everybody we wanted to. They talked about Mr. Oglesby last week in the commission meeting who was bedridden. These cops are still talking about that. Chief, we wish we could have got him. We wish we could have did more. It took too much time. I was getting the same text message you were getting about sewage coming up, and we did the best we could. We absolutely did the best we could, but again, we are not perfect. So, you know, if it's something.
I accept your apology, I really do. I do accept, but I want it on record that this is what happened. I accept. Now, also, I would like to let you know, 5.5 years I worked for the police. So I know about the sacrifice that is made during that time. I'll accept your apology, but I think you needed to know what happened.
I appreciate it. Thank
You
you.
do have some good and you have some bad.
I think the good outweighs the bad, but thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Our next speaker is Doyle Lewis, and on deck is Douglas, is it Kosarek? Okay.
Sometimes we have to take a little.
Doyle Lewis, Daytona Beach, USA. I got 3 things to talk about tonight. This storm was a storm of the century for Daytona Beach. So we're all new to this. This has affected absolutely every single person, even if you didn't get damage. It's affected all of our finances. It's affected half the automobiles around the flooded areas. And with that said, think about the homeless. Every time it rains, they have nowhere to go. But the First Step Shelter is doing a good job. But they only take over so many homeless because a lot of people that are homeless have certain things on their records. I was there at the Ocean Center when it got shut down. It looked like about half of them went and half of them didn't. And there was 300 people there, or 350 people there, from what I heard, on one day. So that's, I would say 100 to 150 people that's out on the street in Daytona Beach that couldn't leave Daytona Beach or didn't want to for reasons. Now, talking about FEMA and the Red Cross, that's 2 different organizations, even though they work side by side. And they do say no to a lot of people, even the people that got damaged with the homes. I went through the process. I've been working on it for 5 days. I still have nothing. So that needs to change a little bit, because if you don't have an address or you don't have something to give and they can't check it and double check it and double check it, you run into issues. It runs into more time. People give up. And the third thing, City Island, the pavilions, they definitely need to be checked like every 2 weeks to 4 weeks about the bird cleanup. And they do need to be opened up, especially in these trying times. It wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe put some barbecue grills out there for people who don't have a kitchen. And maybe they could bring their families down there and barbecue. Thank you. Doyle Lewis.
Our next speaker is Douglas Kosarek.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, esteemed commissioners. My name is Douglas Kosarek. I live on 1840 South Palmetto in South Daytona. I used to be a regular visitor to this podium. I think it's been over 8 years since I've spoke before the commission. The reason I'm speaking to you right now, though, is because, and the storm has been a really historic event. I want to applaud everybody on the commission for the cooperation with state, county, federal officials to try and bring help to the community. I think what's important, though, I don't want to sound like Chicken Little saying the sky is falling, but our seawalls are falling. And that's not getting a lot of attention. And then when the storm came and kind of parked over us for a little bit and then intensified as it got to the water, it was whipping around and it was beating on our seawall, and our seawall took unprecedented damage. The seawall that sustained us through a lot of passing storms and a lot of tropical storms is falling down after the fact, which is kind of hard to fathom. I know the beach is a county issue, and I know that seawalls are falling from Ponce Inlet up to Flagler Beach. But in this community, in this world, We are known as the world's most famous beach. If a building falls on that beach because the seawalls have come down, even if they say it happened in Daytona Beach Shores or Ponce Inlet, people are going to say, where is that? It's in Daytona Beach. And so I urge you that right now, it doesn't matter what your position is. Paul, I loved, or Ms. Reed, I'm sorry. I loved what you said about it doesn't matter if you're blue or red. Right now, people need help. And I personally had 3 houses that flooded. My personal home missed flooding by this much. The high water mark is this far below my threshold. So flooding in the city community is a huge issue. But somehow I urge you to do whatever you can do as a commissioner, as individuals who have the ear of people in higher office. I have friends who've now risen to state and federal office that I'm going to be pursuing on this. But we need federal assistance to work on those seawalls, because as those seawalls go, our tourism goes. The building that fell in Miami had repercussions throughout the state. Imagine if one of our beachfront buildings falls. The Hawaiian Inn is going to lose its pool any minute. So all I'm getting at is that this is a broader issue for this entire community. And I know that there's nothing that this commission can probably do about that issue. But together, reaching out to Senator Rubio, to others, there's going to be money flooding into this community through FEMA, state disaster assistance, insurance money, and other things. And decisions that this commission are making right now, you did a fantastic job with historic preservation, but the decisions right now are going to echo for 100 years in this community over how we rebuild if we rebuild smart.
Thank you, sir.
And there was a meeting tonight, but we had a commission meeting with all the different municipalities. I believe the county put on Ms. Willer over in the Shores, just so you're aware of that.
Our staff is there also.
Our staff was there.
That was our final speaker, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, yes, the manager asked me to announce this. Wait a minute, I got to get it again. And the audience is left. But for those that are listening, this Sunday, October 23rd at 2 p.m., join the City of Daytona Beach for a celebration of the Kelly Field State Historical Marker Unveiling Ceremony. Thanks to the City of Daytona Beach, the Volusia County Daytona Beach branch of the NAACP, and the Society for American Baseball Research, this historic field will be admired for generations to come. It'll be at the Midtown Cultural and Educational Center at 925 George W. Ingram Boulevard, Daytona Beach, Florida. Soon to be named the Julie T. Cherry and Charles Cherry Sr. Cultural and Educational Center. This, on October 23rd, marks the 77th anniversary of Jackie Robinson's signing with the Montreal Royals. African-American teammates Johnny Wright and Jackie Robinson trained at the historic Kelly Field in Cypress Street, and so the state is putting this historical marker there on Sunday at 2 p.m. Meet me there. Beat me there. I'll see you there.
Good night, Daytona Beach.